Good evening. We'll go ahead and start meeting tonight. First item on the agenda is approve the minutes held from the meeting from February 26th.
I'd make a motion we approve the minutes and sign the warrant.
Motion's made by Mr. Wrigley, second by Ms. Skirtle. All in favor? Next item is GSI presentation.
Okay, actually I have Boyd Snowden's here. This is part of his program, so I'm going to let Boyd introduce our speaker and take it from here.
Yep, so this is Ray Corson from GIS Solutions, and we had asked Ray to come to meet with Dave Savage, myself, and Ginny to look at maybe bringing the town to GIS mapping for like all the tax maps and everything. Currently, I'm doing GIS for all the sewer system. I've been doing that since I think 2015. And the goal was eventually to kind of merge all these things in so all the assets the town has can be managed internally on the computer and to provide access to developers and people that are looking to, you know, what's going on in Oakland, what properties are available as a tool for Ginny or whoever's in the assessor's office going forward. So a lot of towns do this. Ray has a great program set up here, and so I'll let him do his song and dance. So.
All right. So it's a pretty informal song and dance. So
We're going to move so we can watch you do your song and dance.
That's perfect.
We'll sit up here with a cool kid.
Me and Boyd.
That's right. That's right.
Oh,
You know, the
good kids go to the back row.
Sorry about the glare behind the
Claire's helping out.
Yeah, you're right. I got it.
I got my sunglasses.
All right. So I'm Ray Corson. I'm the owner of the company.
We can drag our table out of the way so you can...
Oh, it's fine. It's actually perfect for you. I can see on my screen. So I'm the owner of the company. We've been in business. Well, I've been in the business for about 25 years, but I've been in business now for about 6 years. So GIS stands for Geographic Information System. So you guys familiar at all? Probably some of you a little bit, but anyways, I'll give you a scoop. So basically what happens is you know how in the town, like you have things up here, you have a map that's pushing up, or you have your different tax maps, and then you may have a zoning map, or then you may have something for shoreline zoning. So when you have a meeting, you sit down, take all these maps, right, you put them down, you try to say, I think that's here, and you will overlay them over here and everything. Well, what GIS does is it's a Geographic Information System, is what it stands for. So what we do is we actually digitize these different features on here. We put information behind them, and we lay them on top of each other so then you can analyze it and see what's up. So rather than having to grab a parcel map and look at it here on a tax map, and another map over here and kind of guess where they are, we lay them all on top of each other. And then from there we start to sync different databases and information in there, and then we can track that information over time. So I've got probably close to 400 of these sites now running, so a lot of them internal and external, so a lot of different sites. Everything from doing large cities in Massachusetts to really small towns. So it's like, well, rather than just kind of describe all this and show you something that doesn't really relate, I'm going to show you one right next door over in Skowhegan that's very similar in size, very similar to where I think that you guys could aspire to be in a very short amount of time, and kind of what we're proposing to do here. So let me just zoom in here. So this actually, if you go to Skowhegan, Maine, and type, do a little search for GIS mapping or tax mapping on the assessing, this is actually a public site. So you can go up here, you guys can test this out and do it on your own afterwards. This will also format to a mobile device. So you want to try it on your phone, you push it on there, you can push your location, it'll show you right where you are on the map if you're walking around Skowhegan, and you could actually grab it at the same time. But what the goal is here is so you can start zooming in and out and look at things. Now I don't have any layers on right now, but I will do that in a minute. I'm going to do something first. I'm going to search for an owner on here. So I'm going to just start to type in, type in Smith, right? So as I type in the name of that, it's going to sort that down. There's a lot of different Smiths in there. So I can sort by address, I can sort by map lot, sort by owner. When I click on one of them, it's going to zoom me to that location. And I see I highlighted that on the map. So what's happened is all of those parcels that were originally on the tax maps, you have all these stacks of tax maps over time. They're basically pieced together, just in layman's terms, they're pieced together, they're digitized, and they're created so that they can lay on top of the real world as far as where the coordinates are. So right now when I say the real world, switch this on over and let's put this to imagery. All right. So where it actually fits, like on a Google map or like, like a KMZ file with Google Earth or something like that, it's very similar. It lays on top. And each one of these different features that are on here now, when you click, even if you just did a search and you click on one, it'll pop up, and besides showing you what the feature is, we have this link to the assessor's database, and then it's synced every little while to the database, so then you can just click on it and you can find out who owns that parcel now, right? Or as often as they sync the database to at the same time. So this one, we do it a couple times a year with Skowhegan. A lot of towns, they do it just at time of assessment or time of commitment, so they make sure it's at April 1st and all that, but this one's done here. So that's just, that's looking for land ownership information. Now this is used a lot by real estate agents, obviously. They want to find out who owns something, what the piece of information is. We've got other links in here, like you can go off here to Google Maps and Street View, and you can start to look at the Street View on that location at the same time. It'll pop you in. Or you can go over here and you could say, I want to look at the zoning ordinance. I'll pop that in. So it's just kind of a really useful tool that people can see that information quickly by zooming around. They can also go in here. So if you're talking about like developers, you could say, okay, so I'm looking at this lot right here. Let's see if there's anything in shoreline zoning. So as we pop that up, now this one has some in here. You can see the different layers. Let's turn on a different. Let's turn this onto gray background so we can see. And you can see there's a shoreline zoning. So if someone's looking for one of these parcels, they can see what the zoning was in that different area. They pop that up over here, and they can look at that. They can see it's resource protection, and then they can maybe click on that that zoning ordinance. They can click right there and go to it. Other things they may want to say, okay, is there a flood zone in here? So turn that off. They can see the different flood zones in here. That will link off to the different flood zone ordinance with the different pieces in there. Also different, there's conserved lands. There's a different conserved lands piece over there. Soils, contours, different pieces that are in there. So this is, a lot of this data is free, available from the state. We just grab it, we put it down on there. Others are customized for each, the town because they need to do in there. You guys actually do have a lot of different layers available. So with that, I won't get into a lot of detail here. You guys can poke around and play with this all you want. Just go to Skowhegan site and play around. But then there's this whole other side. This is the kind of the public side. So this is how you would look at it from the public aspects on there. Then there's this whole other use for internal stuff. And this is where Boyd really comes in right here, is where his interest is. Specifically is looking at, and you notice on here we don't have any infrastructure on here, meaning there's no water lines, there's no sewer lines, there's no anything like that in there. So I'm actually going to go over here, and this is peeking behind the scenes. I'm logged in. You can see RC admin here. So Skowhegan has a access site that they log into it, and then only approved people that can go in to do that and log in. So we do the same thing with this. So in here we go to, and they have lots of different things. I won't go to it, but if I go to the GIS viewer here. This is a little bit different version. It's got some more advanced tools. More advanced because we don't want to make it too complicated for the public, so we try to keep just those internally, so we don't have people. The whole goal of this is so the assessor gets less calls and the counter gets less traffic. You don't want to have a lot of people coming in because you make the tools too complicated. So, but internally here you can see, there's a star in there. I can't remember what that is, so I'll click on that. So I look at the star in here and see what that is. It's markup points. So you can see Dave, he's got something he's doing there. He says in process, something internally. But this is a layer that they have added on their own, so they can go in and they can make comments on different things in there. They also have stuff in here, so I'll put on lots more things. If I go to sewer and stormwater utilities, for instance. So let's turn off the map notes. Off the parcels, I'll turn off the town boundary, and we go in here, and so in here they've got all of their infrastructure. So if you click on here like a catch basin, you can see that catch basin and where this comes in. So a location can be put on the map using actually these tools in here actually too. So they can go in, they can add a catch basin or something in there, and then they can physically populate the information. So what happens is, the way a GIS works, It's not just a picture of something on the map, or it's not just a picture and a point on there. It then has, if you can picture it like an Excel spreadsheet behind it, that then you can populate that spreadsheet with whatever information you want. So in here, they've got things, this is a catch basin ID, which is a CD1301, which identifies it as that identity. There's a rim elevation, the date inspected. You see Jeff Hewitt was working something location there, but there's lots of different information. Some filled out, some not. A lot of times they'll put, they may see all these invert elevations in here are not filled in, but they do have the clay type. So with that, they can eventually go out in the field and actually get those invert elevations and the information, and that's where your whole asset management piece comes in. So they use that tool to maintain their own infrastructure in there. But really, the nice thing about this is that so I've been in this business for a really long time, and originally GIS was a desktop tool, and you had some really smart guy that sat behind a very expensive piece of software, and that software sat at a desk at the same time, and someone had to use it at that desk and be trained to use it. So now this is web-enabled with much simpler tools, so it allows people to have multiple logons in there and to be able to access it from anywhere live, and not have to have special computers or things to end up working it. So you can use it from any browser device. But so that's kind of the overall. I mean, I can go into much more detail, but you guys have any questions, basically, or anything on there?
So we can create our own overlay.
Yeah.
So if law enforcement wanted to go in and put 1,000-meter marking around a school for drug use or something like that, or we can gather information from Summit to run their pipelines through town,
Absolutely.
hydrant locations.
Absolutely. You can do crime analysis as well. So let's just say that you had some other points that you knew some different locations or addresses in there that you had domestic calls. So I've done things for, like, I had one project we worked on, the City of Portland Police Department, and we were mapping. We have real time coming out of their system coming out, and we would map those locations on there. So when the officers would go to a location, they would know if there was domestic dispute there before and how many they were and what the information was, and all secure. Not everybody can get into that, but when they arrive at that location, they would quickly see, oh, this is what I could potentially be walking into. So, and then from there it gets interesting, because you can start to, do other analysis based on crime. You can say, okay, how many incidents of something here, or something like that. So.
The town of Fairfield has a system very similar to this, and I can go in and click on my lot, and it actually shows me a picture of my house, and the taxes, it shows where all that stuff is.
Yeah.
And I use it. It's pretty simple stuff to use.
Yeah.
And I believe it's a similar program that DOT uses, or is it the same thing? For their, when they come up with their 3-year work plan, they actually,
Or similar.
it's
Or
very,
Yeah, so I have actually a lot of my friends work for DOT, and, and so they're all working. So this is called an ESRI based product that's in the background, and so DOT, they use all those same different products in the background. A lot of their maps you see online are based on the same stuff, and actually some of those layers we actually sync some of the different layers back and forth with, so they're all
Is there an additional cost if we wanted to get an overlay for main water, to find out where the hydrant lines are and volumes and all that stuff? How does that, is that free stuff that we just load on, or?
So the way that one's, so a lot of water specifically is usually kind of secure. So what happens is you end up signing an agreement with Maine Water, and I think we've chatted about that before anyways, but so I work with a lot of communities that do that. You sign an agreement with Maine Water, you basically say, we want to do this with it, we want to do that. It's usually free. They never charge, so it's just free back and forth. And then you have that hydrant information, and from there you can then you can say, okay, there's other information, because they're only going to do their water stuff on the hydrant, but you're more interested in some of the flow stuff, analysis, and so then you can attach your information to that.
I've already talked to Maine Water before. The last couple of years we've been talking about it, and we're going to share data, my sewer stuff and their water stuff, and some that also the natural gas does do it, and you just have to sign a contract, basically saying you're not going to take that and design things with it. It's just for,
Yeah. We have some of our different cities and things we work with that they will put some of that infrastructure on. They will put some water information or stuff, but they'll strip all the features out so that basically when you click on it, it then says, you know, go see the engineering department or go see, you know, so-and-so. And because that way no one's actually like, you know, doing planning work and saying, oh, I think I can tie into that pipe there, and they don't call anybody and they just start to dig or do stuff. So yeah, so some of that's just you know, experience and working with how much you give the public and how much you don't. So.
Good stuff.
I could go on, but your eyes may close and glaze over.
So just to give you gentlemen a heads up, we've been preparing for this for years. We actually have a digital mapping reserve that's got almost $44,000 in it. And we're at a point in time now that we can start looking at this. Boyd's been talking about this with me now for a couple of years, I think. And we can tie it into our assessor's office. The other benefit is AJ down at the cemetery. He has the sites down there, and he can go and locate the sites, and he'll know what's available without being boots on the ground. I mean, just the homework. So there's a lot of applications that we can utilize this on the town with various different departments, and it's just gonna, you know, it makes it more streamlined and it's user friendly. And this is the sign of the times. We haven't stepped up to the plate to do this yet, and I think it's time for us to look at it.
So how does the cost of this program fluctuate? I'm assuming it depends on what you want for features and the number of layers that you choose. Is that how that works?
So most of it, what happens is right off the bat, we got, you know, kind of this flurry of stuff we automatically put in because it's, you know, from the state or whatever. A lot of the stuff, so Boyd's actually done a lot of the work as far as getting the information in there. So he's got a lot of the information that exports out, and it takes no time for us to just put back in. There's other layers in there that we will actually just kind of create empty layers. So what will happen is we could create an empty zoning layer, right, of some kind. And then these guys can go in and just create their own layer from that. Or they can do it in there and then sync it back. So a lot of that work can be done there. Other things, if they want to contract us out